Hello, it's Dan Newmire. After our training session at Metroflex Plano, got home, showered, did some cardio afterwards, about 40 minutes of that oh so good cardiovascular exercise that I love and enjoy so much. Training today, normally on Fridays, it's a shoulder day. Started out with the Arnold press. Usually I train sometimes at different gyms, but I'm not a big fan of the military press setup there at that gym. Not that it's bad, it's just I'm not a fan of that actual setup. So I usually go to a dumbbell. And right now Dan is kind of out of energy and not feeling hoisting up the big dumbbells for some presses. So I ventured to the Arnold press. And I'm a big fan of dumbbell presses, especially for shoulder, because of the range of motion and how the intensity feels during the motion. So went from Arnold press into something I've seen around. I've also kind of modified it myself as a standing military press on the rack machine. As you can probably see, I don't use too much weight because obviously with the assistance of friction on the motion, it makes it even more difficult. So a total of 155 pounds, maybe 165 pounds on a military press standing behind the neck. Not very much weight, but you start pushing up against that, the rack, and the friction of that makes it very hard and tiring very quick. So I do like that, but the pain of that, especially the lactic acid buildup in that movement, is very intense. But I'm a big fan of that motion. From that, we traveled over to the. I use the decline bench. A lot of times I will use an incline bench, but the decline had a nice angle on it. I do side lying side laterals. I'm a big fan of that movement. Again, I've probably said in other videos time and time again, but you see a lot of gentlemen hoisting 60 pounds plus on side laterals, and it becomes more of a trap movement and a swing movement than an actual side lateral deltoid movement. So what I do is I basically swing my body about a 90-degree angle. This is a little bit less than that, to a sideline angle, so I can keep the tension constant from beginning to end on the side lateral, especially the medial deltoid. And I have a little, I'd say, an inward rotation, so I can kind of target, I would say, the more posterior aspect of the medial deltoid. So the side or the angle that you definitively see front to back on stage when the person's standing to you or behind. So it gives more of an angle or more of that look, of the dense of the more width to your shoulder. That's what I'm trying to anyways accomplish. And I also like to combo that with dumbbell upright rows. A long time ago saw Mr. Olympia J. Cutler do those in his video, and I fell in love with them. Because of the range of motion, how I can control it. With a barbell, it's pretty fixed, but I can control the width of the movement on the dumbbell and incorporate the tension where I want it to be without having to worry about the barbell reducing my range of motion. So I'm a big fan of the comboing those together. And a lot of shoulder movements, I like to place 2 to 3 exercises together. I also even threw in an internal rotated side lateral standing. I don't do it very heavy. The dumbbell is more posterior, and again, it hits that nice little posterior medial aspect of your side deltoid. From that, just good old rear deltoid in the machine. I've been going into more of a single arm. A lot of times with the bilateral movement, I just don't feel it very well, or I can't get the range of motion I want, and I lose it. And with a single unilateral, I get more of a deeper contraction and a farther stretch. And a lot of those old school machines, they just don't have the range to get a deep enough stretch sometimes, so I solve that by doing unilateral. I've been enjoying that on that movement, at least lately I have been. And sometimes I will combo unilateral and bilateral together, kind of as a fatigue factor. From that point, went over to the shrug machine they have over there. Just lazy. Usually I like to do dumbbell stuff, for it because of the range of motion. I love dumbbells, but low carb, tired, 2 weeks out. Lazy Dan went over to the shrug machine and just went to 3 plates on it. I'm very accustomed to, and I like Smith machines that have more of an angle that's straight up and down, not an angled towards you or away from you. And I like to do behind the back shrugs, kind of like the old Lee Haney. But the Smith machine gives me a pathway to follow without having to go around my butt, essentially, with that. But that specific machine at Metroflex is angled, so kind of shy away from that. So generally speaking, that's majority of my shoulder day. off season, even during prep, it doesn't change much. I like volume. I used to, every once in a while, I'll get up to 315 press behind the neck. It just depends how my shoulder feels. When I prepped for USA's, I had some serious shoulder issues, which really hampered my training as far as pressing motions, and I really had to baby it. And it took a while to get it back, and then my shoulders feel great. What caused it? I don't know. If it's my sleeping habit, my behavior, the way I trained, I don't know. But I really had to behave it, or take care of it and baby it so that I could heal it, because that shoulder joint is very important as far as a lot of different exercises, and I didn't want to abuse it. So, but the training's been going pretty well. I was pretty happy with today. Again, I love Metroflex. I love their gym. I'm just, like I said, these last 2 to 3 weeks, I should say even before that, are with low carbs and everything, just stimulating. I'm not trying to do too much weight right now, but even my off season, I'm not, as people probably have come to know me, I'm not a 1,000-pound lifter on different movements. Some of those days might be over with, because I like to train smart. I'm not into knocking out my shoulder and being out of training, because if I can't exercise, Dan's not a very happy person. So from that point, the rest of the week, I'm just looking at possibly a leg day, another back day, and then we go into next week, which is basically the last real week of what I would call training. And nothing changes too much. I'm pretty boring like that. Some people would argue that, adaptation stuff, but I'm pretty consistent with how I train and what I do and what I favor. So this last week will probably be it for training, and then we're into just basically some high volume, what I would call glycogen synthase creating kind of environment or movements. Not that low carbohydrate diet for a long period of time doesn't do that on its own, but just lighter volume stimulation stuff, and then we go into nationals. So so far so good. Package is better than what at least I feel. Like I said, we'll see what's on stage. I can't say, but my weight is up. I'm weighing 250 pounds in the morning compared to the 243, which I was in at weigh-ins at in Vegas this last summer. So I got my weight up. I'm a fuller, rounder, and that was my goal. So at least we accomplished that. So we'll see what happens from this point. Still got work to do, but not much is going to change from here on out. Just going to a little slight up and down as far as carbohydrates. Cardio is pretty much staying about an hour and a half, and what we can do for the next this last week, not much changes. So just going to kind of coast in and see what happens, enjoy my time, head down to Florida, and then it is food time. So I'll catch up with you guys hopefully before the end of this week, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Good old 90% lean red beef. Usually go with 93, 94. I shouldn't say usually. Sometimes I do, but once cooked, does anyone really know the composition or difference between 93 and 90? Thank you, sir. Does not matter. Whatever works. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Got a case of my chicken breast. That's basically my staple chicken boobs. I kind of live here at Sam's, where I buy that either about every week and a half, and say, well, I can't, probably off season starts to 2 weeks, but about every week and a half, sometimes a week depending on how hungry I am, I go through a case of chicken breast, and I'm very boring. I go home, I boil it, and I throw it in the refrigerator. So I do have fish. Some people do the whole last 2-week fish thing. I've done that before. I've also done no fish, no difference. I really don't feel that you have to do fish. Again, people can argue all day that there's some kind of nutritional value. Sure, we can argue omega-3 content of fish or whatnot, but again, until someone can determine, identify, or separate completely the difference between fat content and 500 calories of chicken and 500 calories of fish, if there's actually indeed a difference on your body composition, I would like to know. And please give me some evidence-based material to show that. Otherwise, we're back to bodybuilding mythology 101, which just states that if Bob and Jim do it, and Bob and Jim were really lean, then that means that everyone should eat fish at that time. So, as normal, I try to fight trends and do my own thing. Good old staple veggies, just green beans. Sometimes if I feel amorous, I get some, what's it called, some peppers, onions, mixture. It just depends how fast or how much of a pace I'm in at the grocery store or Sam's. Usually they don't carry it here, so generally I'm just getting green beans. I used to do broccoli, but not very much fun to hang around when I'm eating broccoli. So I stick to French cut, whatever kind of green bean I can find. It's generally pretty cheap and get in bulk. So I'm a fan, been that way for years, green beans, but actually I can even eat this in the off season when I can, but I will get spinach salad stuff too. But again, it's just easier to maintain through it in the freezer. We can argue nutritional density too all day, but right now we're quick, easy as far as diet stuff. So throw it in the microwave, go, run, go. It's pretty much been the way for me for the last 8 months. So we'll continue with the green beans, and then once we get in all season, we'll change. 150, that's not bad. That's actually decent. Throw in some house supplies and honeydew list stuff. And
how much was the chicken? Was 89?
Usually for a box, about $84 to $90. That's just the case. Again, that lasts me about a week and a half, and thankfully I'm very boring, and I just cook it. And my chicken consists of boiled chicken, sriracha. Actually, I can tell you my meals right now. Mainly, all I'm eating right now is cream of rice, packet oatmeal, green beans. On a lower carbohydrate day, it'll be just red beef or the beef patties I have, and chicken breasts. As far as in my high carbohydrate day or most of the day, so that's pretty much it. There's not really much change unless we go out to eat somewhere and I have to manage it. But again, that's just chicken and maybe a lean steak, and that's about it. So it's not changing much here. So we're pretty boring in everything we do. But I do need sriracha. Sriracha is a savior for me.